Today we were supposed to talk about combat, but we won't. Instead, we'll talk about what's in your backpack. Yeah. Hello again. Thank you for tuning in. So, last time in the last video, I promised we will take a closer, more detailed look at the combat system in Backpack, my role-playing game. But as it has happened, that system is right now undergoing quite heavy playtesting because we've made some rather big changes to it in order to speed things up and fix some other small things. So I have decided to wait a little bit and do it next time instead, because we need a little more time to test it before I feel confident in sharing it with you guys. So instead, I thought, okay, what can I talk about? Well, I can talk about the Encumbrance system. That's sexy, right? So since you can say in Backpack there's a lot of subsystems, I would say two of these systems are a little bit controversial, maybe, the design decisions, and it might not be to everybody's taste. One is more controversial and one is a little less controversial, and the Encumbrance system is the controversial but little less controversial system, and I will share my design ambitions about it. So Encumbrance is of course important when you are playing an exploration focused game like expeditions, and it is important what you carry with you in order to survive. Food, you need light, you need special equipment sometimes, and everything you have to bring with you, and sometimes the area where you operate is very tough. It could be you're in caves and you need to climb or crawl underwater or walk over long distances. So I wanted that equipment and the storing and packing of equipment must be important. And the name Backpack a little bit implies also that this is a little bit one aspect of the game at least. So I wanted to do two things with the Encumbrance system. First of all, and the most important thing was that it should matter what you bring and also how you bring it. So I wanted the system to include some kind of choice that sometimes the players have to do a hard choice how to do it and where to store things, and the choice should have consequences. And the second thing I wanted to do was I want to minimize math. I don't want it to take too much time for the players or mental load. That has been the design goals, so to speak, of the system. So how it works is, basically there are two kind of systems in role-playing games. Three really. There are games that has no encumbrance system. That encumbrance or equipment and what you carry is kind of abstracted, or it is assumed that the player characters has access to certain kind of equipment, and that is not the focus of the game. But otherwise there's usually the system where you have some kind of weight to every item, and you based on realism, and it is then expected that a character can carry a certain amount of weight. And and then there is the slot-based equipment system, where you, instead of calculating weight in pounds or kilos, you calculate instead how many items, and then you say my character can carry 10 items, and then you have to decide which 10 items that is. So my system is a slot-based system because it is clearly the less math-heavy choice. It is simpler just to at a glance quickly take a look at your character sheet and see, oh, I have a lot of stuff in my backpack, or I have a lot of white space. Then you know you don't carry that much. But of the slot-based systems I have seen, there are many popular. We have like in Nave 2nd edition, or Cairn coming up, and many others. Usually, even though you want a slot-based system, sometimes still the designers feel the need of the players to differentiate between different objects. So yeah, this item is an item taking up one slot, but this armor, for instance, this is very, very heavy. So this is 3 slots, and although that is simpler than calculating the weight of it, I think I've always thought that it kind of defeats its purpose, because then if you still have to write a number beside the object, or indicating on your character sheet how many slots this object is, then you're pretty close to, then you could just write how many kilos it is, and then you are having a weight-based encumbrance system. So I think it's kind of a compromise, not really. I think it's sometimes a simple solution. So what have I done? So let's see if I can. Okay, so back to the backpack. Imagine that it is a slot-based system. Every item is 1 slot. What we do in backpack instead is that we differentiate a little bit between, this is like all the some excerpts from the item lists. So one item is 1 slot, and then we have something called trinket. A trinket is no slot. So we differentiate some things in the equipment table is defined as being trinkets, and that trinkets are usually stuff that is too insignificant to be counted as items, such as normal clothes. I don't want your normal clothes to take up an encumbrance slot, because it's something that is mandatory. So it's better to just assume that your clothes, you always have that, and what you can carry according to your carrying capacity is above your clothes. It's on top of your clothes. It's not expected that the normal thing is not being naked. So normal clothes that is a trinket, but if you put on more clothes than that, say winter clothes and stuff like that, then that is an item. Tinderbox is very small. Necklace of protection. So, and rings, very, very light and small items or trinkets, and they are just put in a separate space in the on the character sheet. But then we have the real items that take up 1 slot. So in backpack you have a choice. As you can see, you have one part of the character sheet that is for stowed equipment, and one that is for ready equipment. So stowed equipment, that is everything that you kind of carry on your back, or in a backpack, or in a sack, or tied to something. Basically, this is the most effective way of carrying a lot of stuff. But the downside is that if you need to get something that is stowed, it will take a little time for you to do it. And this will be most important in combat. So for instance, usually you want to put stuff that is stowed. You want to put stuff that is not something that you would need, like in combat. So for instance, spellbook, rations, torches, maybe some potion that is not something that you need acutely. And then you might guess that the thing that you have ready, that is stuff that you will have at hand. So that is everything, maybe in your weapon belts, carrying in your hand, or maybe tied to a harness in front of you, or small pouches where you quickly can get something from. Equipment that is ready is something that you can, during combat, without taking too much time, you can switch between ready weapons. You can take a potion that is ready and drink it. You can, like for instance, I've written here caltrops. If you have a pouch of caltrops that are ready, that is ready, then you could just grab it and as your combat action use it. But if you had it stowed, then you would have to take off your backpack, maybe dig around for it. Then it would basically take an extra turn. So how the system works is items that are ready count double. So one item counts as 2 if you have it ready. In this way, we don't care really about exactly how this is being carried. That's up to the player. The player just decides, do I put it in my ready slot or in my stowed slots? Of course, armor, shields have to be worn in order to have some benefit of it. And that always counts as being ready. If you otherwise you can't use it. But you could, for instance, take your leather armor and put it in your backpack in order to lessen the total load that you carry. Yeah, so you see there are 4 items that are ready here, but actually it counts as 8 because they are ready. And if we total this, we would reach a total load. So this character has a load of 17. You just take the sum of the ready equipments and the stowed equipments, and that is what you carry. And this is where the choice come in, because you could have, for instance, if you move the pouch of caltrops from your harness or your belt, and instead put it in your backpack, it would effectively net you. It would lower your load with 1, because now instead of taking 2 slots, it only takes 1. So this is where the player can decide in a perfect world, to have perfect flexibility, you would like to have everything ready. But that will count as then you eventually become clumsy and slow, because you have a lot of stuff hanging from all over you, and you can't act as freely. So in this example, so right now this character has a load of 16. And how much can you carry then? Well, that is in backpack based on your attribute that is called might. So the normal mean score of an attribute is 3. That is like a average. And you count your weight as 5 times your might. So a normal load would for this character be 15. And the normal load is how high your load can be without having any kind of penalties. And you can carry up to the maximum of double your normal load but as long as you're above your normal load, you have some penalties to movement and stuff like that. So in this case, this is an example of a choice the character or the player can do. In this case, we know that the current load in this setup is 16. That is above the normal load. So we are hampered. We are right now, as it looks, it will give the player some kind of penalty. But there is a choice. You could decide to, for instance, okay, I need to do something where I must move quickly. I must. It is more important for me to be fleet of foot than it is that I fight optimally. So in this case, say the player decides, okay, let's take the shield and we tie it to the back of my backpack instead. Doing so effectively lowers the character's load by 1. So going from 16 to 15. So voila, suddenly we are not hampered anymore. We are exactly on the limit for a normal load. So this is something that I like because I don't put different kind of items. Doesn't take up different slots, number of slots. Every item is 1 slot. It basically counts items, but how you carry it and how you decide to organize your gear have effect in the game without, I think, being specifically math heavy. It once you wrap your head around it, it's I think quite easy. The rule of thumb is every item that you can move to from your ready area to your stowed area will lower your load one step. And I know that the playtesters usually at least try to make it so that if they would take off the backpack and hide it, they would never be above normal load. So that in worst case, if it's a very dangerous combat or something, the first thing they could do is take off the backpacks and just drop it on the ground, and then they only have their ready equipment and they're able to fight freely without carrying a lot of stuff. Of course, the drawback is if they need to run away, which is not that uncommon in an sandbox game or old school style game, then could be that you leave your stuff behind in your backpack. So it creates consequences. If you have choices, you have consequences. Okay, I haven't had time to prepare more than this, and so I hope this was interesting, and I'm happy to hear some comments or ideas or questions regarding the backpack encumbrance system. Next time, we're gonna talk about combat. For real this time. Yeah, trust me. And we're gonna talk about souls. Alright. So, awesome. Where's my mouse? There. So, thanks a lot, guys. I hope this was interesting for some of you. And until next time.